Good evening and welcome to this edition of News Night, featuring Old Man of the Clan, Andrew Mwenda. He's the Managing Director of The Independent. Andrew, you're most welcome to this show.
Thank you, Charles.
Andrew, last week we had a very interesting discussion, as it turned out, on the independence of the judiciary. And I know that you were telling me before coming to the studio that you got such an amazing response and people giving you some new issues here and there. What's new in the judiciary? We are going to be looking at inside the judiciary, let me call it that.
Well, first of all, not just necessarily new information. I wanted to correct one thing. I had said that the Supreme Court Justice, Bat Katureba, attended the meeting at State House.
Okay, what's new?
I later discovered that he actually was not in the meeting, in which case either I misunderstood my source or my source misled me.
But the meeting took place.
But there was a meeting where he did not attend, where the President, the Prime Minister, and the Attorney General had a discussion on Odoki's entrance. I think the President was advised that the Odoki can be rehired, not just as acting judge of the Supreme Court. The President was advised that he can also be acting Chief Justice, or play the role of Chief Justice, and that was legal. That is the opinion of the Attorney General. But when you talk to many judges, and when you talk to very many lawyers, I can hardly find any lawyer worth his name who agrees with the Attorney General's opinion that you can have Justice Odoki reappointed as Chief Justice.
What point exactly are they talking about that they don't agree with the Attorney General on? Is it the
Constitution
issue of...
does not, there is no constitutional provision that allows a retired judge who is rehired in acting capacity to be a Chief Justice. The constitutional provisions do not provide.
Now, let me just take it on that. Do you therefore, as an analyst of this, now there is one thing that I have to just remind ourselves of, that the issue of Odoki being reappointed or not as a Chief Justice in acting capacity could be a sub judice issue. We have to know that, because the matter is a matter in court right now. But we have to now probably discuss the politics. Now, do the lawyers that you speak to, or the judges, say that it is not constitutionally permitted for Odoki to be reappointed as acting Chief Justice?
Well, technically, I should put it like this. Technically, neither me nor you or any lawyer outside on the street arguing can decide whether it is constitutional or not. What would be giving his opinion? You see, the ultimate authority on this matter would be the Supreme Court or the Constitutional Court to sit and interpret. Their ruling or their judgment is the one that would decide the matter. But I am more convinced and inclined to believe that any attempt to appoint just Benjamin Odoki as Chief Justice would attract exactly what has attracted, which is it will be subjected to a challenge. And very likely the Attorney General will lose that case. But what is important for us to discuss on the judiciary is the fact that right now we don't have a Deputy Chief Justice. No. We don't have a Chief Justice.
Right.
Justice Stephen Kavuma was, for you to be appointed acting Deputy Chief Justice, you must have an instrument signed by the President.
Yeah.
But when Justice Mwenda fell sick, at that time, Chief Justice Odoki sent an internal memo asking Justice Kavuma, who was the seniorest person on the Court of Appeal, saying, please, can you perform the functions of the Deputy Chief Justice? Now, the Constitution says that in case the Chief Justice retires before anyone is appointed, then
it is the Deputy Chief Justice who presides.
Remember that right now there is no legal instrument appointing Stephen Kavuma as acting Deputy Chief Justice. Then Justice Kavuma proceeds, and now when Justice Odoki was leaving, he retired on June 23rd. Then on June 24th, when he was no longer even Chief Justice, he wrote an internal memo saying, look, I want to take over the functions in the judiciary, and if you need me, you can call me for consultation. Signed, outgoing Chief Justice. But your retirement date had expired on the 23rd of June. This is 24th of June. So you are ex-Chief Justice. The letter itself becomes, therefore, a nullity. So I do not know why this country, with such strong legal traditions, can allow this quagmire that is taking place in the judiciary to continue. I don't know whether the Attorney General is advising the President correctly, or whether the President is not listening to the Attorney General. But can you believe Uganda, of all countries, we don't have a duly constituted Chief Justice, we don't have a duly constituted acting Deputy Chief Justice. What we have is actually a legal quandary.
Can I now take it from there?
No,
and Andrew,
not a judicial quandary.
A judicial quandary. Now, I want to spare you because I know that you read a lot, but you are not a lawyer, so you are not going to go into the nitty-gritty.
I'm an old man of the clan.
Yes, I know you are an old man of the clan, but that has a limitation. Now, in law especially. Now, let's go to the politics. Last week when we were discussing this topic, we looked at, and I was saying that, do you think the judiciary is independent, seriously speaking, in light of such an occurrence where they don't have a Chief Justice, they don't have, like you have said, and we know it, a Deputy Chief Justice substantive, and the judiciary are crying and saying, we are a sheep without a shepherd. What does that mean for our politics?
First of all, it's a big embarrassment to the country. That is one. Two, I saw the other day in the newspaper, Justice Kavuma with President Yoweri Museveni and pretending that he's the Chief Justice and the President accepting it. That is an illegality and an irregularity that the state is openly promoting. I also find it embarrassing. I find it shameful. I don't even know why it's happening like this. The Prime Minister, Mama Mbabazi, is a lawyer. He should be able to advise the President, but somebody has to take action and say, look, this circus taking place in the judiciary has to end. Of course, the other problem the judiciary faces is there are so many vacant seats. Why are they recalling retired judges?
Actually, I can say that on the Supreme Court, they have 4 vacancies. On the Court of Appeal, they have 4 vacancies. I think at the High Court, they have 29 vacancies. They're supposed to have 80 in the High Court judges, but right now, as we speak, they have only 51. So, and that bodes badly. But anyway, let's go to the issue of...
But can I talk about that? You see, all the senior judges, rather the senior lawyers, who have integrity, who have competence, who have experience, who have respect, were approached by the Judicial Service Commission. Take a very serious lawyer like Masembe of Max Advocates. You ask him to go and become a Supreme Court judge. They pay him a salary of 9 million. Perhaps he has a daughter studying at Cambridge and another one at Harvard. Perhaps he pays fees of $60,000. How does he sustain that? So I think that there needs to be a review of judges' salaries. My own feeling is sometimes...
They reviewed it recently, and from 5 million they pushed it to 13 million for the Supreme Court judges.
So do you think that a person like Masembe would leave his law firm to go to earn 13 million?
Shouldn't it be about service to the country?
It must be service to the country, but would you allow your daughter to fall out of Harvard and your son to fall out of Cambridge because of service to the country? So there must be a balance between service to the country and also service to my family. I cannot, no one is going to throw away their family in the name of service for the country. I personally think that the salary of the Chief Justice and the Supreme Court judges and the judges of the Court of Appeal should be anything between 40 million, rather 30 million to 40 million or even 50 million. Because there are even few anyway, if you're saying 80 judges. So we can afford that.
Can that now bring me to the issue, one challenge that the judiciary is now faced with, the issue of corruption. There is a belief out there that there is a huge level of corruption in the judiciary, and that can be, that loophole can be solved by increasing judges' salaries. Is that really the right argument?
You see, if there is corruption,
or what should be done to resolve that? First
of all, I don't think there's a lot of corruption in the Uganda's judiciary. There is some corruption, but I don't think it's a lot. Now, remember that this one is based on my
intuition. You really spoke for the judiciary last week, and you said that they are really independent. Would you want to...
Yeah, of course, because assuming we were to assemble the 100 top-profile political cases, which were brought by the opposition and the civil society or journalists against the state, how of the 100 top cases we would put there, I can tell you the government of Yoweri Museveni has not won even 10. If the judiciary has ruled against the state in 90%, 90 out of 100 cases, what does that say? That this judiciary is compliant, it's afraid of the state? The only significant cases I know the state has won are the 2 petitions by Besigye to annul an election. Let me tell you, my son, my great-grandson Charles, I do not know of any country where an election has been overturned by a constitutional Supreme Court. And if it happened, it would happen in a very stable systems. In a country like this, one of the challenges, if I was a judge myself, now I'm not a lawyer, but a judge at that time, you have to think politically.
Besigye tried to do that in 2001 and in 2005.
Yes, and I think it was a good act that he did so, but he would have been satisfied with what the judges said. You see, if you are a judge, you say you're going to annul an election because there has been election violence. The question is, if the election is repeated, will the violence go away? Assuming it does not go away, what will you do? Will you annul it? And what is the end game? This is what we're discussing on Sudan. Whenever you go to do something, you must have an exit strategy. If you enter a war, you must know how you're going to walk out of it. If you begin annulling an election, there is always evidence of irregularity. So are you going to annul every election for 5 years? There will be the Supreme Court will own, you'll be conducting elections being annulled, do you see? So if I am a judge of the Supreme Court, I have to consider that. And I think that achieving a free and fair election is something that will take generations, or something that will take quite a long period of time. So we must content ourselves with an imperfect election process, but which is capable of infinite improvement. And I think that's the most reasonable thing to do.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew Mwenda, old man of the clan. That was Newsnight.